I was reading some analysis this week suggesting that by Iran telegraphing the attack and, yes, launching a whole lot of missiles, that's a serious thing to do, but also doing so against such a good system, the Iron Dome, that they were not necessarily hoping this would escalate, so that Israel, as much as they would be affronted and this should be condemned globally, didn't have its security threatened because it knew it was coming because the Iron Dome's so good. Do you think Israel could do something similar if it's telegraphed in some way? It gives Iran the opportunity not to necessarily escalate?
Well, no, Tom, I just think that analysis is all baloney, really. First of all, we can't know exactly what the Iranians had in mind. Do you think that they launched 300 missiles expecting them all to fail? They certainly weren't launching an all-out attack on Israel, but this is a wonderful beachhead. If they can do this without getting Israel, without having a decisive response from Israel, they have normalised state-on-state attacks on Israel. So then the world says, well, thank you, Iran, you only launched 300 missiles. Gosh, you're so moderate, you're so restrained, there's such nuance in the attack. We're really grateful for you. Expect the United Nations to pass a resolution thanking them for their restraint. I think the Iranians did expect their ballistic missiles to get through, and they were aimed at Israeli Air Force bases, which would have harmed Israel's tactical response capability in the short term. I think they're embarrassed by the technical failure, but there's no cause in this for Israel to be complacent. And I think Israel will respond by attacking Iranian military facilities. That would be my guess. And then it's up to Iran what it does. I mean, it's not up to Israel to,
well, obviously
manipulate Iran's actions.
Is that you ideally don't want to escalate it, but I take your point that they cannot have this as a zero cost exercise, firing hundreds of missiles. So you take your point on that. I ask you these questions because you look at this stuff more closely than me, Greg Sheridan. Binskin, the Binskin inquiry, I guess we'll call it. So far, no sign we're going to get cooperation. Is this all going to be a bit irrelevant? Is Israel just ignoring us on this? This is, of course, us wanting him to investigate what happened in those killings of the aid workers.
Well, I make three short points about it, Tom. First of all, no other country which lost an aid worker has appointed anyone equivalent to Mark Binskin to try to interfere in Israel's internal military investigation. That's point number one. Point number two, Australia has many, many times inadvertently killed civilians in warfare. We have never, ever invited or allowed an outside nation to send any representative or have any input into our inquiries, and any liaison role could easily be undertaken by the Australian ambassador in Israel. So I believe this is a complete cynical stunt by the Albanese government. It is a misuse of Binskin. I've written a column today calling on Binskin to resign from this ridiculous position. This position has no consequence, no relevance, can achieve nothing good. It only exists to allow the Albanese government to traffic in the sectarian politics of the left and in anti-Israel sentiment. Gives them a good excuse to keep beating up on Israel in the future because they can say Israel is not cooperating with Binskin, whereas we've never, ever had an outside person involved in any of our inquiries. Now, I think Binskin is an honourable and a good man, but he has a higher duty now to the Australian Defence Force and the integrity of the uniform, which is being misused for political purposes by the Albanese government. So I think Binskin, on his own initiative, should resign this preposterous and politicised position which seeks to exploit the integrity and good standing of the Australian military uniform to give a blessing to Albanese's sectarian politics.
Okay, as I said, so far it doesn't seem like Israel is going to give access. We will see.